Somewhere in the open ocean, a group of sperm whales is floating completely still, straight up and down, like giant logs standing on end just below the surface. They are not hunting. They are not communicating. They are asleep, and they are doing it in one of the strangest resting positions found anywhere in the animal kingdom. This behavior wasn't confirmed until researchers managed to track and photograph it directly, because for a long time, nobody was entirely sure how sperm whales actually rested at all. Once it was finally observed clearly, it turned out to be almost nothing like how most people picture an animal sleeping. Let's start with why sleep is even complicated for a whale in the first place. Whales are mammals, which means they need to breathe air regularly, and unlike humans, breathing for a whale is not automatic. A whale has to consciously decide to surface and take a breath. This creates an obvious problem when it comes to sleep. If an animal falls into a deep, fully unconscious sleep the way humans do, it could stop breathing and drown. So whales need some way to rest that still allows enough awareness to keep surfacing for air when needed. Many whale and dolphin species solve this problem using something called unihemispheric sleep. This means only one half of the brain rests at a time, while the other half stays alert enough to keep the animal swimming, breathing, and aware of its surroundings. Dolphins are well known for this, often seen swimming slowly near the surface with one eye closed while the opposite side of their brain rests. Sperm whales appear to do something different, and this is where the vertical sleeping position comes in. Rather than continuing to swim slowly while resting like many dolphins do, sperm whales have been observed gathering in small groups and drifting motionless, hanging vertically in the water with their heads pointed up toward the surface and their tails hanging down below them. In this position, they barely move at all. Sometimes for around 10 to 15 minutes at a stretch, completely still except for a very slow drift caused by ocean currents. This vertical position actually makes a lot of sense once you think about the practical side of resting in open water. A sperm whale's head contains an enormous structure called the spermaceti organ, filled with a large amount of dense, waxy oil. This organ plays a role in the whale's buoyancy, helping it control whether it rises, sinks, or stays balanced in open water. By resting in a vertical position with the head near the top, a sperm whale may be taking advantage of this natural buoyancy balance, allowing its body to hang nearly motionless without needing to actively swim or expend much energy at all just to stay in place. Staying close to the surface during this resting period also solves the breathing problem in a fairly efficient way. Since the whale's blowhole sits right at the top of its head, floating in this vertical position keeps that blowhole close enough to the surface that the whale doesn't need to actively swim upward to take an occasional breath. It can rest in place, take a breath when needed with minimal movement, and settle right back into stillness afterward. One of the most interesting parts of this discovery is what it suggests about how deeply asleep these whales actually are during this behavior. In earlier observations, researchers noted that boats were able to approach quite closely to whales resting in this vertical position without the whales reacting or moving away, something that would be extremely unusual if the whales were fully alert. This lack of response suggests the whales may have been in a much deeper resting state than the light, half-brain rest seen in species like dolphins, though scientists are still cautious about fully confirming exactly how deep or complete this rest state actually is, since measuring brain activity directly in a wild sperm whale is extremely difficult. This vertical resting style also appears to set sperm whales apart from most other large whale species studied so far. Many baleen whales, including humpbacks and grey whales, are believed to rest using methods closer to the slow, continued swimming seen in dolphins, keeping at least part of the brain active and the body gently moving rather than going almost completely still. The fact that sperm whales instead gather in small groups and drift motionless in a vertical position suggests their resting strategy may be shaped specifically by their deep diving lifestyle. since an animal that spends so much of its day in intense, demanding dives might benefit more from a short, deeper rest period than from a longer, lighter one spread out while still swimming. This raises an interesting question about how much actual sleep a sperm whale gets overall, and the answer appears to be surprisingly little compared to most mammals. Based on tracking data collected from tagged whales, these vertical resting periods appear to make up a fairly small portion of a sperm whale's day, estimated at somewhere around only a small handful of hours total, spread out in short stretches rather than one long, continuous rest. For an animal this large, that's a remarkably small amount of total rest time compared to how much sleep most large mammals on land typically need. Part of the explanation for this likely comes down to the same challenges facing every deep-diving predator living in the open ocean. Sperm whales spend a large portion of their day diving deep to hunt squid, an activity that demands a huge amount of energy and focus. Fitting in extended periods of rest around that demanding hunting schedule, while also needing to stay aware enough to breathe and avoid predators, likely limits how much true rest a sperm whale can actually afford, even if its body clearly still needs some amount of it. Put all of this together, and the picture that emerges is genuinely unusual. An enormous, deep-diving predator that spends most of its life actively hunting in total darkness, resting only in short bursts, using its own natural buoyancy to hang almost motionless in the water without expending much energy at all while staying just close enough to the surface to breathe without needing to fully wake up first. So the next time you imagine a sperm whale, don't just picture it diving deep into the darkness after squid. Picture it drifting quietly upright near the surface instead, resting the only way its body seems built to allow, standing perfectly still in open water like a giant, silent statue floating just beneath the waves.